So it's been a couple days. I was waiting on more parts, so I finally got my shipment in from FCP Euro. So I got new exhaust studs for the downpipes to the manifolds, and then I got my nuts and studs for the cylinder head for the manifolds to go onto. Like I said, I was missing a couple, so I finally got these in. So I got to throw these studs in so I can get the new manifold and downpipes on. So I have once again fallen victim to the whole old BMW with not matching up part references. So with the 130 millimeter water pump pulley on the E28s, they say to use a 1044 belt, or a 1040. This 1040 is way too small to get on there. I have the alternator moved all the way inward as well, and this will not wrap around it. So 1040 is not the right size. And the stock 1085, I believe. Let's see. Yes, the stock is a 1085. That is too big. So turns out I need, I believe, a 1055 to fit. I think that'll be perfect because 1040 too small, 1085 too big. Let's meet somewhere in the middle. I'm 0 for 2 today. So while I'm waiting for the AutoZone to deliver a belt, it's going to take a day to get in. I went to go put the studs in the cylinder head, so I had to get a couple new ones because, like I said, these got stuck. And, of course, the nuts I ordered are the wrong pitch. They do not thread on, so these are worthless. So, luckily, though, I came over here with vice grips and a wrench, and I was able to get the old nuts off of these studs. It was pretty easy. I kind of overlooked this from the start, but, you know, once you vice grip a stud like that, it's advisable to probably not put it back in your cylinder head, just in case. Don't want to strip something. One manifold done, one to go. So you can see there the nice E24 manifold. Much smaller, much more room, much less thermal reactor. So looking good so far. So again, went to O'Reilly's and got a 13 by 1072 belt. And it is also too short, that even on the shortest setting, I cannot get it around all the pulleys. So, 1072, too short. 1040, way too short. Alright, I'm in the process of taking off the what they call bananas, the intake runners, because I loosened the actual log of the manifold from these, but the frickin' stupid throttle body has 2 lines that come from way beneath. And this, the throttle, whatever, and I can't get this to actually separate from the manifold, and it's pissing me off. So I'm just going to pull the runners off so I can pull the manifold this way, and then I can slide the throttle body off and leave it kind of in place. It's kind of a huge pain in the ass. Everything's all in the way, and nothing's convenient to get to. I got all the bananas and the log off, so now it uncovers the shit show of old style like fuel. So you have the this is the feed, this is the return, which go in here, which is a nice little T, which goes into more soft line that then goes down into hard lines that go into 3 injectors each, and then those hard lines meet at the FPR, and then the FPR goes back into the return, and then right here you have the cold start valve. So it's just a bunch of soft lines with some hard lines. Then each injector has like a soft line that goes to the top of it. I don't know if you can actually pull those off the injectors themselves. Got all the injectors out and the fuel rail business done. I had to order a bunch of hose from O'Reilly's. They didn't have any in stock. So I got fresh fuel line coming in. So I'm going to redo all the lines, the feed, the return, and then all the intermediate little crap. So I got the injectors here, and they all have this stupid like hose that appears built in. But I sat here, and with this one, if you like with a razor blade cut through it, and then I actually dremeled off that bottom ring, you can pull the hose off, and it'll look like this. So there's just 2 barbs here. So then I'm going to go get these injectors cleaned. Just because, you know, whatever, if there's any rust in the gas tank and stuff, I want to make sure these are clean. And then I'm just going to put that new, the new line I'm buying, I'm just going to hook it right onto this with a hose clamp. So that right there is a perfected method of removing this hose off the top of the injector. So you saw what I did there. I used the Dremel to cut into the ring at an angle so I don't hit any other part of the injector. Then you use some wire cutters and you bend that collar like around itself and it'll break. Pull that off and then you access the bottom of the hose. And then the line that you already have cut, you razor blade off using the flat end of the razor. Before I was trying to use the edge and it didn't work, so you use the, you saw in a sawing motion, and then you'll cut through that hose nice and easy, and then boom, pull it off with the pliers. So that was a finger painful process, kind of sucked. All right, so I got the valve cover off and the manifold. I'm gonna power wash them to clean them up before I spray them. So right now I'm in the process of getting these intake gaskets off, and I had no idea they would be this difficult. I mean, these things like do not come off. They're coming off in as many layers as they can. So this is painful razor blading to get these off. And I know the bananas are stuck too, so I gotta do those. So here's the valve cover, freshly painted. Came out pretty rad. I'm super happy with this. Again, I'm using the caliper paint, which is like, I think the perfect finish for like the original, like I don't know, silver that these engines are, like the manifold and stuff. Like, I don't know, it looks perfect. So there's the valve train. The oil squirter bolts on this were tight, they weren't loose, so no problems there, which is good. That's a good sign. But yeah, so this is ready to go back on. I'll throw the new valve cover gasket and wrap that up. So I'm even going through the process of not quite polishing, but wiring all the valve cover hardware, so you can see before and then after, shining them up. It's the little details that count. Like I've said countless times, I really want this car to be like a factory fresh, like, not quite a restoration, but I want it to look factory fresh. So that's why I'm going through the extra trouble doing even little stuff like this. And voila, there is the freshly painted valve cover on the engine. I got the spark plugs all hooked back up. I got the harness bolted back down. It's the next day because I ran out of my sealant. I like to put sealant on it. I don't know if it's necessary because it's a paper gasket, but I just prefer to do it anyway. So that looks super cool. I mean, that totally transformed the engine bay. It makes it look very fresh. So I'm super happy with that. So now I still scraping off all the old intake gaskets. Another day coming out to the E12. Oh my god, I'm getting sick of this. I just want this car to be done. So I ended up stealing all the new fuel line I bought for my E34, because I did new fuel lines for that because the new regulator and stuff. So I gotta go buy new fuel line again, and I'm right where I left off. I gotta do the fuel line. I gotta put the new injector, not new, but Zach cleaned them at his work. So thanks to him. He said these were really dirty, so I'm guessing 40 years of crap and whatever was stuck in the fuel system from sitting was all inside of these. So this car should run really nice with some freshly cleaned injectors. So I gotta throw those in, put the new line in. So you can see here, I got the downpipes hooked up to the exhaust finally. This was a huge pain. So of course, the studs or the nuts that I bought were the wrong thread pitch again. So I had to reuse my old ones, which is fine. to tighten everything is a lot easier without the reactors, but it's still kind of iffy. So I had to use a couple different like variations. So I used an adapter for a 1/2 inch to 3/8, and I think that makes it, because these extensions are thinner than this one. I could get a couple with the 1/2 inch, but then I swapped over to this. And then one of the last couple bolts, I didn't have a long 3/8, so I had to make my own here. And then used a crescent wrench for a couple of them that worked better, even from the top. It's a bunch of weird variations. So I just did my last bit of shopping to finish this car off. So I rebought fuel line. I got a bunch of new hose clamps for all the line. Then I got some more engine enamel this time instead of caliper paint, but it's same color. Then some brake clean. But so now the next plan of action is, this is the hole left over from the EGR valve that I deleted. So now what I'm gonna do here is, I got a bolt, I got washers and some nuts. So I'm gonna put that bolt through there with a washer under the head, and then a washer and a nut on the inside. Or I'm actually gonna do it this way. But basically what that does is, that's gonna seal this off. Alright, so you can see here, I got the nut and the bolt tightened through. I put Teflon tape on the bolt. Don't know if it matters. You can kind of see it in there. So now I think I'm just gonna epoxy around that, just to ensure no leaks out. But that should be good there. Got the manifold log painted. I gotta do a couple more coats on that. I got my caliper drying off the bench here. And now I think what I'm gonna do is put my new injectors in and do the gaskets for the lower intake tubes. So I got the lower manifold off, I guess you would call it. So I got one off. So here is this. As again, I don't know how many times in this video I've had to do this, but the gaskets I have for the whatever lower thing are the wrong gaskets. They are these, which technically I think will work, but they don't have that cutout. So it might actually not matter. I might just use these for the sake of getting this done. But right now I'm basically sitting here scraping away the old paper gasket. That stuff just does not come off of these cars. My fingers are bleeding. I can't even explain to you guys how miserable like this is starting to become. Like, you know, restoring the car is fun. I'm glad I'm doing it. It's gonna make up for it when it drives. If it drives, hopefully it drives, it should drive. But regardless, I hope this car is 100%, because if it's not and I can't enjoy this thing after all this work, I'm gonna be like very like butthurt and frustrated, because this is the most like, not in-depth, like the E34 Touring's in-depth, like, but if I had to do this again, I would just pull the motor out, because this is just a pain in the ass. Because the problem with these cars is the hood, right? So I have to lean over, and these cars have these thick ass fenders, right? So it's like a table here, then you got all this, then you got this, which I've cracked now like 4 times. All this, I gotta lean in here, so I'm hyperextending my legs all day, and they freaking hurt. And yesterday I was working on the E34 all day, now I'm working on this all day. Literally my legs are just dead, so it's miserable. I just wanted to be done. I still gotta pull that off. BMW designed this kind of dumb. These lower nuts you can't even really get to without like half stripping them, because these angle down. So those are a pain to get off. But yeah, I mean, I don't know where I'm gonna get tonight. I'm gonna pull that one off. Try to scrape all the gaskets if my fingers don't fall off, and then go from there. I got the bananas all painted, ready to go on. And then I put on the other caliper and bled the brakes, and they bled. So fingers crossed that that all works. My hand's foaming because now I'm taking a break from this car because I'm sick of it. and I'm washing my E36. So from work to work, but I'd rather do this than anything else on that for now. I'm pretty sick of it. I don't know why, but yellow attracts bugs when it's wet. Because every time I wash this car, when it's wet, there's just bugs all over it. The flies just love it. All right, back to the E12, onto the fuel line. So I just started with the feed line. So I'm pulling the old stuff out, putting the new stuff in, 5/16. This fuel line was pretty cracked up. You could tell it was cracking. Probably can't see in this lighting, but so maybe you could see here all the little cracks when you bend it. So I figured while the manifold's off and I have easy access, now's the time to do that before it leaks. And then a lot of times there will be a lot of gas fumes when a line's cracking like that. So I just went ahead, bit the bullet, and bought a bunch of new line. Just going through here one by one, replacing the fuel line. So you can see here, old soft line, new soft line. So I got the whole feed hooked up, and then I got this section, I gotta do this, these two tiny ones, and then the return off the regulator, and then each individual injector one. I'm waiting for my call from the local place that's getting my intake gaskets. Like I said, I ordered the wrong ones without this little dip. Not that I think it would be a huge difference, but on these, there is that little like space right there that without the proper gasket is exposed to the airflow, so air could get in there. And you know, I don't know how big of a deal that would be, but I don't want any type of discrepancies. I'm trying to do it right once and be done with it. I don't want to have to pull everything off again. So waiting for those new gaskets and still waiting for my belt. I know this is all going to be in one video, but I mean this car's been like this for like a month or two and I still have no belt. So just going away, hammering out the fuel lines, doing new hose clamps. This is a barb intersection here. So originally there was no hose clamps, but anytime, you know, you're in here doing stuff, I think it's a good idea to throw hose clamps on them because I don't want any leaks or anything. My local place got the gaskets today. So you can see here, they got the round that the head has. So I can finally put these on, put the runners on, then the bananas, and then the manifold, and I can actually button everything up. I have everything to put it back together, and then it'll all be done. So I have the intake runners back on, all bolted up, new gaskets, and then I have 4 injectors in, and you can see here, 2 are missing. So basically with these injectors, they have these old seals right here, which I didn't even think to replace, but I did buy them. And I didn't think it would matter, but I found that when you tighten these down, how thick that is what compresses it into the runner and kind of squeezes the bottom seal, which is what actually seals the fuel in there. So I figured it'd be best to do these. And these are held in by a little C-clip, as you can see there. And the only C-clip removal tool I have is these garbage Harbor Freight pliers, which don't even open up the C-clip wide enough. So in the process of doing that, I, of course, dropped one of my injectors and cracked the bottom piece right there. You can see. So you can see it just pops off. So this injector is no good. And then I was looking, and this one doing the same thing. I hit it on the fender, and this one's not as bad, but it's still cracked. So I think it'd be a bad idea to use these. This one's definitely not usable. So now here I am, screwed myself, and have to order a set. Luckily, FCP Euro seems to have a set of Remand ones for not a bad price. I cannot describe how pissed off I am that I did this. Just my luck, of course. The car was supposed to be basically done tonight. It was going to be running, and yeah, I screwed it. So all right, I'm gonna call it quits on this video. It was a little long. Next video, which is everything I'm doing today, this thing should be firing up tonight. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.